This episode of Tekzilla is brought to you by Jack Threads.
Hey, if you dig into Francois Piednoel's LinkedIn page, you'll find that he's the principal engineer and senior performance analyst at Intel. Quote, working on improving the future of computing while fixing software when needed. His goal really is to make UI, the user interface, the part of the computer that you stare at all day and night, feel right. Francois, welcome to Tekzilla. What are some of the things you had to go through to ensure that you can not only take capable hardware, but produce an experience that can compete with some of the best hardware out there?
So, the way we did it at Intel is we basically had a massive lab with a lot of engineers, high-speed cameras and things, and we basically start looking at what people want, how it feels, what makes you feel good. And we figure out a couple of milliseconds latencies that the screen has to react, that the UI has to react.
So things like from where a person's looking on the screen to how their hand interacts with it, and the timing involved, and all of that.
All of those little details. And then what we start doing, we start using a lot of camera around our hands when we use the computer. And by doing so, we could figure out when I was dissatisfied, or when my coworker was dissatisfied, we were making gesture with our hands, saying to the camera, okay, it's wrong. And then later on, we can take notes and figure out what makes people happy. So we actually use real user feedback to design those things.
Very cool. You've been doing this for about 14 years now, and in that time, you've had, I'm sure, an opportunity to look at every user interface that's come along from both Intel-developed equipment to the competitors out there. How have you really seen changes occur?
So, if you remember well, Windows 95, for example, was what I call a Xerox interface, the famous Xerox. On steroids, so you had a lot of windows moving back and forth, left and right, being able to do multitasking by putting Windows on the foreground and the background. What Microsoft is bringing with Windows 8 is actually a non-Xerox interface in the Metro world, which is, because of this interface, you can actually view multiple information in one single screen. And that changed the game, that changed how you perceive your information. By a blink of an eye, you can know the weather in Santa Clara and then the latest news on CNN, for example. So it's regrouping information into a way people can see much faster the information.
Less static interfaces, more interactivity, things like that?
Exactly. Making it move is one thing. People require 60 frames per second. Those modern UIs are video games.
What's the challenge then for programmers then to maintain a 60 hertz interface where the interface is so quick it seems almost fluid? What are the pitfalls?
So first, if you look at those devices like this one, or the ASO one, or the Lenovo one, you have a graphic processor, a GPU, and a processor sharing a memory controller. And when they share the memory controller, you actually have to deal with the fact that sometimes the processor can take too much bandwidth, and then your graphic will lose the performance required to be able to smooth the screen properly. So you need to have a different programming model. You need to think about how I'm going to guarantee the GPU to do everything smoothly. And I think Microsoft did a beautiful job at doing this on Windows 8. They actually understood the thing. They do video game for a very, very long time. So they had the knowledge internally. And I think it's going to surprise a lot of people the way Windows 8 is going to interact.
Cool. Now, as far as the hardware in front of us here, all of these are loaded up with Windows 8, I believe. And
yes, they are.
I think we should this is already available, the Lenovo, I believe this is the carbon fiber notebook. Is it the X1? No.
This is the X1 Carbon. Yeah.
This is available already running Windows 8, and you can see the Metro interface on there. But the other devices that are up here, and I love a whole notebook made of carbon fiber.
So this one is available with Windows 7, and as soon as Microsoft launch Windows 8, you'll have Windows 8.
Excellent.
Now, we can look at those things, which is this one, for example.
One of the lightest, ultralight notebooks I've ever looked at.
Exactly. So there is the NEC, which is about 800 grams, but this one is 998 grams.
Just under 1,000.
They didn't make it to the kilograms, and I'm going to start interacting with it, and I'm going to use my super password, and you can see that everything is super smooth. It moves. So it reacts in about 6 milliseconds to your finger touch. And I don't have to push very hard. It's really going very nicely. It's like you're touching almost, how to say that, something very smooth. You don't have to push hard, and this is what makes you
very sensitive.
Feel sensitive and happy. Your brain is very happy because you don't have latency. when you touch it, and then you don't have any pain, neither any attention to put into the touch.
Is there an issue though where you run into where the interface becomes too sensitive and there's not enough forgiveness in a sense?
So we had to deal with this. Usually you get to this point when you have, those devices are really interesting for one thing, because you have a screen which is a lot of signal coming to the pixels, and then you have a touch screen, which is something that is using radio technology, capacity radio technology.
Right.
So you measure capacity into the middle of the screen, and the way you measure it is by pulsing a radio wave, listening to it, and get the echo. That's mostly how you measure touch. By having the screen behind the touch, we had to figure out things like, how do I do not have noise? You know, the noise of the electronic noise is disturbing your touch screen. So we had to figure out how not to noise it, how to make sure it's, and it's the same thing for the touchpad. So now if you look behind those things, they have shielding, they have what you do in a cell phone now in these PCs, there's a lot of them.
Beautiful. And for the tablet interface, will this be one of the first basically core interfaces, or core hardware-based tablets available as well?
Yes, so this one is the Acer W700. So this tablet is very much coming with a docking station. It looks and feels like a PC. So you have your keyboard here, you have your mouse if you want, you have a touchpad, and it's a tablet as well that you can undock later. What's really cool about this is you can have massive storage out of USB 3.
Oh, nice.
You can read the whole thing at 100 megabytes per second. So if you want to fill this device, which has about 64 gig of memory internally, if you want to fill it with videos, it would take 10 seconds.
Pretty cool.
So if you're in a rush to get into an airplane, drag and drop from this drive to this drive, the way you do it with Windows.
Nice. We cracked up in this external drive, and you had a pair of, what was it, 600
gig SSD.
SSDs?
Intel, yeah.
So we're looking at a nice terabyte of SSD storage.
Exactly,
terabyte plus.
And it goes really fast.
Looking forward, what do you see coming down the pipeline as far as interface and performance?
So just at IDF, we showed that we can now at Intel close the laptop and still do things. So we have power stage, you know, SOIX, or those kind of things that will allow us to keep your laptop synchronized with whatever you want. But that's for next year, correct? This year, we look forward to have very slim form factor like this, and all of the OEM and ODM in Taiwan are focused into doing this fancy touch stuff that everybody wants to have.
Everybody wants that interface to be smooth and just silky. They want to.
Yeah, it has to be silky. That's the word, silky. So yeah, we're not finding it, but
good deal.
That's what it is.
Francois, thank you very much for being on the show today and bringing some cool hardware and talking about some of the background in terms of how these things are created. And thank you for all your hard work. A lot of us are going to take advantage of this in the coming months. And of course, we will have a lot of this hardware in the coming months to show you guys up close and in person as it's released. And now it's time to thank one of our sponsors.
Shopping for clothes not high on your list of priorities? Do you hate going to the mall? That's probably why you're still wearing the same gear you were wearing 5 years ago. It is time to get with the program, people, and outfit yourself at jackthreads.com. Why Jack Threads? It's inexpensive. Everything on the site is up to 80% off. That means you can afford to eat while looking good, or still have money for that new iPhone or Android device. They carry some serious brands: Ben Sherman, Vans, Converse, Mosley, Tribe, Supra, and more. Are you interested? I bet you are. That's why we got a special hookup for you. As a Tekzilla fan, you can skip the membership, duck right around the red velvet rope, and get instant access. Just go to jackthreads.com/TEK. You want to look good when you go out? What are you waiting for? Jackthreads.com/TEK and start looking good while you're saving cash on the stylish clothes you want.